The transfer market is now open, and that means that it is the most wonderful time of the football calendar. We are in the one transfer market where there are so many rumours, and so many of them don't happen because things don't tend to happen in January. However, let's put that thought to one side for a moment because we know that Leeds United need to do business, and they need to do a fair bit, and ideally early, to make sure that we take full advantage of having them in the squad. Before I dive into it, be nice if you could subscribe. It's a nice little button just down here, and it is completely free for you, and it massively helps out the channel. Thanks. So let's dive in very quickly to Leeds United's current targets, and the first one that's been heavily rumoured is Nathaniel Adjei. Nathaniel Adjei is a, I think, 21-year-old centre-back that currently plays at Hammarby and has very much impressed in his side this season. Not only has he fairly recently joined that club, but being able to start at a fairly young age and just dominate the league in the way that it looks like he has in the matches that I've quite rarely, admittedly, seen him is very, very good. In addition to that, he'd be relatively cheap. He comes in with a £3 to £4 million price point, which is absolutely fantastic for us. And personal terms aren't expected to be an issue because, after all, he's a young guy that is currently playing in the north of Europe, and that tends to mean that the wages aren't as high as Italy, Spain, Germany, England. If I remember right, he is either English or of English descent as well, so he blend in with the team quite well. No language barrier issues, and £3 to £4 million is a pretty good price point, especially when it comes at the same time as rumours of Charlie Cresswell's departure from the club. This seems to make sense. It didn't work for him under Jesse Marsch, didn't work for him under Marcelo Bielsa, it's not working for him so far under Daniel Farke. I don't think Charlie Cresswell has a future at Leeds United. As sad as it is, I really like the guy, and in my Football Manager saves, as you know, he's going to play a key part in the future. However, that's not where we are in the real world. I would love him to stick around. I'd love him to keep getting more minutes, but I feel like that isn't necessarily going to happen. Charlie Cresswell on loan seems like it's inevitable to somewhere in the Championship. If we're sensible, he doesn't go to a rival, but let's find out. In addition to Nathaniel Adjei, we are also looking at the Scotsman Josh Doig, who is a left-back. We quite badly need a left-back, so this rumour is very, very good to see. He's currently playing at Hellas Verona in Italy, and he's been doing pretty well. He's not necessarily torn up the league. I'm just going to have a very, very quick look at his statistics, just to make sure I've got the numbers right. Yeah, Hellas Verona. Currently, in Serie A, 17th. Not great because 18th and down get relegated. However, that's not necessarily his fault. There are a lot of holes to plug in that side. Serie A is incredibly strong this season with the top sides all playing really well and points being spread throughout the league. So, for example, you can go from the relegation zone to 14th and there's only 5 points separating them. It's fairly tight over there. But he's a left back, and he's a good left back, and he doesn't take up a foreign nationality spot in the squad. And importantly, he is very attacking, and he brings a lot of creativity to his sides. Not necessarily through passing, that's not what he tends to do, but in terms of taking players on. That passing thing is almost certainly down to the system that he plays in. Italian football is far more passive than English football. There's not too much passing. It's very defensive, and when you're attacking, you're doing it with your attackers and midfielders. For Josh Doig to be a very forward-facing player that attacks and takes on players is a good thing. And interplay with Crescencio Somerville is almost certainly going to be a thing as well. Not only that, but he's fairly good defensively. Of course, Verona aren't looking too good on the defensive front at the moment, being 17th, but he personally hasn't made that many major mistakes. Like, I work watching Serie A, and I've not noticed any big problem from him at the very least. He's also very highly rated. He's been sought by Rangers and more, and that means that it could be difficult to get him. Apparently, the price is looking like something like 5.5 million quid. I think reports were initially in euros, so it'd be 6 or 7 million euros, something around that area. It's not too horrific to spend on a left back if we can go up with him. Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. I don't see a problem with that signing. And there are other potential deals as well. I'm just going to very quickly rattle through these because I don't want to be one of those channels that's completely full of nonsense and filler. First up, we have Chris Moore potentially departing to Hibernian. Don't know whether this is permanent or on loan. It makes sense for him, though, because clearly it feels like he's starting to outgrow the under-21s. If I remember right, he's captained that side fairly often. It makes sense for him to go out and get some senior football. And if it's in the Scottish Premiership, even better. Fabio Carvalho is one that's been discussed as a potential loan for us. I think this would be very difficult for us to pull off. I can see lower level Premier League clubs looking for him. Liverpool would want him to play almost every single minute of this season. And we already have young, promising attacking players that aren't able to squeeze their way into this squad. I think in order to get him in, you'd need to put Rutter back in the 9. You'd need to ditch Piru or Bamford, put Carvalho in there instead. I'm certain there are going to be clubs that can offer Fabio Carvalho a lot more minutes than we can, and that means it's going to be really hard for us to get a proper hold of him. Are we signing a 10? I would like to hope so. Jorginho Rutter's performance the other day makes me think that we don't necessarily need one, but one coming in wouldn't be a problem for me in the slightest. Fabio Carvalho, though, doesn't look like he's going to be the one this time. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Who do we need to sign? Who are we potentially going to get rid of? I think we can see that Charlie Cresswell's probably on the way out, but are there any other members of the senior squad that could do with either a loan away or a permanent move? Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe if you're not yet. It's massively appreciated. I know I keep buggering on about it, but you don't get if you don't ask. It's worth a go. I hope you enjoyed. Like the video. See you later. That was a messy outro.